The evening air felt quiet as Officer Maria drove slowly through her usual patrol route. The street lights were turning on one by one as the sun slipped behind the buildings. Maria felt tired after a long shift, but she stayed alert, watching every corner carefully. Her job had taught her that even calm streets could hide silent trouble. As she passed an old grocery store, something small moved near the sidewalk. Maria slowed the car and looked closer through the window. A tiny brown puppy stood near a broken fence, its fur dusty and thin. Its ears were too large for its small head, and its tail hung low. Maria expected the puppy to run away when the car stopped. Instead, it stepped closer and stared at her with wide eyes. There was no barking, no fear, only a quiet watchfulness. Maria stepped out of the car and crouched down slowly. She held her hand out gently and spoke in a calm voice. The puppy sniffed the air and moved closer without hesitation. Maria noticed how light the puppy felt when it brushed against her shoe. It looked like it had not eaten well for many days. Maria smiled softly and checked for a collar. There was nothing around the puppy's neck. She thought it might be lost or left behind. She wondered if someone nearby was looking for it. The puppy suddenly turned and walked a few steps away. It stopped and looked back at Maria. When she did not move, the puppy returned and nudged her boot. Its eyes seemed to beg for something she did not yet understand. Maria stood up slowly and took a step forward. The puppy wagged its tail once and began to walk again. Maria followed at a careful pace, curious and slightly uneasy. The puppy kept glancing back, making sure she stayed close. They moved down the sidewalk past quiet houses and closed shops. The street felt empty, but Maria sensed a growing tension in the air. This was not how lost puppies usually behaved. This one seemed focused and determined. Maria remembered many moments from her years as an officer. She had seen fear, anger, and sadness in many forms. But the look in this puppy's eyes felt different. It was a mix of worry and hope. The puppy turned into a narrow alley between two buildings. Maria hesitated for a brief moment before following. She kept her hand near her radio, staying alert. The puppy slowed its pace as if waiting for her. The alley smelled of damp ground and old boxes. Shadows stretched along the walls as the light faded. Maria felt her chest tighten slightly as they moved deeper inside. The puppy began to whimper softly. It stopped near a pile of broken wood and torn cardboard. The puppy scratched the ground and looked back at Maria again. This time, its eyes were filled with fear. Maria knelt down and moved the boxes aside carefully. At first, she saw only darkness and still shapes. Then she noticed a faint movement beneath the shadows. Maria leaned closer, her heart beating faster. She realized there was another dog lying there. The larger dog looked weak and tired. Its breathing was slow and shallow. Its fur was dirty and tangled, and its body barely moved. Maria felt a deep ache in her chest as she took in the sight. The puppy rushed forward and pressed itself against the larger dog. It licked the dog's face again and again. The larger dog tried to lift its head but could not. The puppy let out a soft cry that echoed in the alley. Maria understood then why the puppy had followed her. It had not been seeking food or comfort. It had been searching for help. It had been brave enough to trust a stranger. Maria quickly spoke into her radio and called for help. Her voice stayed calm, but her hands trembled slightly. She removed her jacket and gently covered the larger dog. She wanted to keep it warm until help arrived. The puppy stayed close, never moving away. It watched Maria carefully as if guarding its family. Maria spoke softly, hoping her voice would bring comfort. She told the puppy it had done the right thing. Minutes passed slowly in the quiet alley. The puppy's breathing grew faster as it pressed closer to the larger dog. Maria stayed beside them, watching and waiting. She felt the weight of the moment settle heavily on her heart. Sirens could be heard in the distance at last. The puppy lifted its head at the sound. Maria stayed close, ready to guide the rescue team. She knew this moment would change everything. The rescue vehicle arrived and filled the narrow alley with bright lights. Maria stood up slowly as the team stepped closer. The puppy pressed tighter against the larger dog and began to shake. Maria lowered herself again and spoke in a soft, steady voice. She explained what she had found and how the puppy had led her there. The rescue workers listened carefully and moved with calm hands. They knelt beside the larger dog and checked its breathing. Their faces showed concern as they shared quiet looks. The puppy tried to stand in front of the larger dog as if to protect it. Maria gently placed her hand on the puppy's back. She wanted it to feel safe and understood. The puppy looked up at her with tired, trusting eyes. One of the workers carefully lifted the larger dog onto a stretcher. The dog barely reacted as it was moved. Its body felt weak and light. Maria felt a heavy weight settle in her chest as she watched. The puppy cried softly and tried to follow the stretcher. Maria picked the puppy up and held it close. She could feel how thin its body was under her hands. The puppy rested its head against her shoulder but kept watching the larger dog. The rescue vehicle doors closed gently. Maria climbed inside with the puppy still in her arms. The engine started and the alley slowly disappeared behind them. The puppy stayed quiet but alert during the ride. At the clinic, bright lights replaced the darkness of the street. Doctors and helpers moved quickly and with purpose. The larger dog was taken into another room at once. Maria was asked to wait nearby with the puppy. She sat on a bench holding the puppy close to her chest. The puppy's breathing was fast and uneven. Its small body trembled with fear and exhaustion. Maria rubbed its back slowly to calm it. Time seemed to slow as they waited. Every sound from the hallway made Maria lift her head. She wondered how long the puppy had been alone. She wondered how far it had walked looking for help. The puppy slowly relaxed in her arms. Its eyes closed for a short moment and then opened again. It did not want to sleep for long. It seemed afraid of missing something important. Maria thought about the moment she first saw the puppy. She remembered how determined it had looked. That memory stayed strong in her mind. She felt deep respect for such a small creature. A doctor stepped out of the room after some time. Maria stood up quickly with hope in her eyes. The doctor spoke gently and explained the condition. The larger dog was very sick and very weak. The puppy watched the doctor closely as if it understood. It lifted its head and let out a small sound. Maria held the puppy tighter. She thanked the doctor and sat back down slowly. Hours passed in quiet waiting. The clinic lights stayed bright while the outside world grew darker. Maria stayed where she was without moving much. She did not want the puppy to feel alone again. The puppy finally fell into a deeper sleep. Its head rested against Maria's arm. Its breathing became slower and steadier. Maria looked down at it with gentle eyes. She thought about her job and the many calls she had answered. Some moments stayed with her longer than others. This moment felt like one that would never leave her. She felt connected to the puppy in a way she could not explain. The doctor returned later with a serious expression. Maria stood again with a quiet fear in her heart. She listened carefully to every word. The situation was still uncertain. The puppy stirred as if sensing the tension. It opened its eyes and looked around the room. Maria whispered softly to it. She promised it would not be alone. The night continued with waiting and quiet hope. Maria stayed strong even as her heart felt heavy. The puppy stayed close to her warmth. Both of them waited for news that could change everything. The room felt quieter as the night moved deeper. Maria stayed seated with the puppy resting against her chest. The soft hum of machines filled the space around them. Every sound seemed louder because of the waiting. The puppy lifted its head and looked toward the hallway. Its ears moved slightly at every passing step. It felt like the puppy was listening for a familiar presence. Maria followed its gaze with a tight feeling in her chest. She thought about how strong the puppy had been. It had crossed streets and shadows without fear. It had trusted a stranger without hesitation. That courage stayed heavy in Maria's thoughts. The puppy shifted in her arms and let out a quiet sound. Its eyes searched the room again. It did not understand where the larger dog had gone. It only knew something important was missing. Maria gently stroked the puppy's back. She spoke in a low, calm voice. Her words were simple and steady. She wanted the puppy to feel safe no matter what happened. Time continued to pass slowly. The clinic staff moved in and out of rooms quietly. No one spoke loudly or rushed near Maria. Everyone seemed to understand the weight of the moment. The puppy suddenly became restless. It stood up in Maria's arms and looked toward the door. Its body felt tense and alert. Maria felt her heart begin to race. The doctor appeared again and walked toward them. Maria stood up slowly and met their eyes. She could tell the news before a word was spoken. Her chest tightened with a deep ache. The doctor spoke gently and with care. The larger dog had been very weak for a long time. Despite all efforts, its body could not recover. The puppy's family member could not be saved. Maria closed her eyes for a brief moment. She took a deep breath to steady herself. She felt sadness rise like a heavy wave. She opened her eyes and looked down at the puppy. The puppy stared at the doctor and then at Maria. It sensed the change in the room. It let out a soft cry that cut through the silence. Maria held the puppy close as its body trembled. The puppy tried to move toward the hallway. It wanted to find what it had lost. Maria gently held it back. She whispered softly to calm it. The puppy's cries grew quieter and weaker. It pressed its head against Maria's chest. Its small body shook with confusion and fear. Maria felt tears form but kept her voice steady. She sat back down slowly and rocked the puppy gently. The puppy stayed close and did not pull away. It seemed to understand that Maria was now its comfort. That trust felt both heavy and meaningful. The clinic room felt warmer yet emptier. The larger dog was no longer there. Only the memory of loyalty remained. Maria felt honored to have witnessed such love. She stayed with the puppy for a long time. She did not rush or look at the clock. This moment deserved patience and care. The puppy slowly grew quieter in her arms. Its breathing became slow and steady again. Exhaustion finally overcame its fear. The puppy closed its eyes but stayed pressed against Maria. She held it as gently as she could. Maria thought about the choices ahead. She knew the puppy could not go back to the streets. It had already faced too much. She felt a quiet decision forming in her heart. The doctor returned once more and spoke kindly. They explained what would happen next. The puppy would need rest and care. Maria listened closely and nodded. She looked down at the puppy again. Its face looked peaceful in sleep. It had trusted her at the hardest moment. Maria knew she could not turn away now. She stayed until the sky outside began to lighten. Morning slowly replaced the dark night. The clinic felt calmer with the new light. Maria felt changed by everything that had happened. The puppy stirred as the day began. It opened its eyes and looked up at Maria. Its gaze was full of quiet hope. Maria smiled softly through tired eyes. She whispered a promise meant only for the puppy. It would not face the world alone anymore. The puppy rested its head back against her. A new chapter was beginning for both of them. Morning light slowly filled the clinic room and softened the sharp edges of the long night. Maria sat quietly with the puppy still resting in her arms. The puppy opened its eyes and looked around as if trying to understand where it was. It lifted its head and searched the room again. The absence was clear, even to such a small heart. The puppy let out a soft sound and leaned closer to Maria. It did not cry loudly or struggle. It simply stayed close as if accepting the truth in its own way. Maria gently stroked the puppy's back and breathed slowly. She felt a deep mix of sadness and calm inside her. Some losses came without noise or anger. This one arrived quietly and stayed heavy. A clinic worker came in and spoke kindly to Maria. They explained the next steps with care and patience. The puppy would need food, rest, and gentle attention. Maria listened closely and nodded. She followed the worker to a small room filled with warm light. A soft blanket was placed on a low bed. Maria carefully set the puppy down. The puppy stayed still and watched her every move. Maria poured a small bowl of water and placed it nearby. The puppy sniffed it and drank slowly. Each small movement showed how tired it truly was. Maria stayed close so it would not feel alone. After some time, the puppy curled up on the blanket. Its body relaxed for the first time since the night before. It closed its eyes and slept deeply. Maria watched quietly and felt something settle in her heart. She stepped outside the room and leaned against the wall. The events of the night replayed in her mind. She thought about the alley, the fear, and the loyalty she had seen. Some moments changed a person forever. When Maria returned, the puppy was awake again. It looked at her and wagged its tail slowly. That small movement felt like a gift. Maria smiled and knelt beside the bed. She reached out her hand and the puppy placed its paw on her fingers. There was trust in that simple gesture. No words were needed. Maria felt the decision become clear inside her. She spoke with the clinic staff and filled out the needed papers. Her hands moved with calm purpose. This choice felt right and natural. The puppy would leave with her. Later that day, Maria carried the puppy outside. The fresh air felt new and gentle. The puppy looked around with curious eyes. It stayed close to Maria's side. The ride home was quiet and peaceful. The puppy rested on the seat beside her. Its head leaned gently against her arm. Maria drove slowly and carefully. When they reached her home, Maria opened the door and stepped inside. The space felt warm and safe. She set the puppy down on a soft mat. The puppy explored slowly and carefully. It sniffed every corner and returned to Maria often. Each return felt like a question and an answer together. Maria stayed patient and calm. She wanted the puppy to feel secure. Over the next days, the puppy grew stronger. Its steps became steadier and its tail wagged more often. It followed Maria from room to room. She never once pushed it away. Maria chose a name that felt right in her heart. She called the puppy Hope. The name carried meaning and promise. Hope fit the little life that had searched so hard. Every morning Hope waited by the door. Every evening Hope greeted Maria with quiet joy. The puppy no longer looked lost. It looked home. Maria often thought about that first night. She remembered how close everything had come to being missed. One small choice had changed a life. Sometimes help arrived because someone asked bravely. Hope grew into a healthy, happy dog. Its eyes stayed gentle and trusting. It never wandered far from Maria. Their bond grew stronger with time. On walks, people often smiled at the sight of them together. Maria always felt a quiet warmth in those moments. She knew what that loyalty meant. She had seen it at its purest. The memory of loss never fully left. But it made the present feel more meaningful. Love had grown from sadness. And kindness had found its way forward. Every night Hope curled up near Maria and slept peacefully. The puppy that once searched the streets now rested safely. Maria watched over it with quiet gratitude. Both of their hearts had healed together.